Oh my God, we are almost there. 2 weeks until the election. It's going to be doomsday for somebody, right? Somebody's going to end up crying. Whether it's the libs, whether it's the MAGAs, somebody's going to end up unhappy. That's the same song and dance we go through every couple years, right? Every 4 years. But regardless of what happens, I mean, it's an interesting time. Gold just knocking the socks off the other metals. I mean, even with regard to silver, it's been, a phenomenal performer. The question is it going to last? Or like all good things, it comes to an end. That's the hard part. The other hard part is it's so hard for people to get into gold, especially with the allure of silver. Selling, on the other hand, I mean, is another difficult task. I mean, even with these run-ups, I haven't heard or seen too much about people, parting with their silver. Now, again, there's always the stackers that, don't sell anything ever. They're just always perennial buyers and holders. That's admirable, right? But there's also the other, good portion of stackers that want to make some kind of return and want to kind of take advantage of the price action up and down. The hard part, as always, is the coin shop and the premiums. There's there's always someone that has to make a buck off of you in the middle. Now, that's unless you sell peer-to-peer, which I'm assuming that's its own special, brand of pain along the way. But longer term, my question is, which one of these guys is going to be good for gold and silver? Now, it's difficult to say, right? So I'm thinking about this and I'm asking myself, so there's going to be plenty of people who disagree, but if you know anything about the markets can price in good, bad, everything in between. The thing is, the only thing the markets don't like is uncertainty. They don't like uncertainty. Why? Because it's something that can't be priced in. So when you ask yourself which candidate represents more uncertainty, I mean, unless you're lying to yourself, you have to say Trump. Not just because, he says all kinds of different things to, all kinds of different people that, tends to lend itself that he, could do any number of things. You really don't know what Trump's about until he actually gets in there, and then you get to see. Now, that contrasts with Kamala Harris, where it would be, more of the status quo. Whether that's good and bad, you could argue about for years and years and years. But the key is that, for the stock market, at least initially, Kamala Harris would probably be a boon to the stock market because, again, the market, as much as you may not like it, likes stability. Even if it's not good stability in your opinion, it likes stability. Now, that being said, again, policy-wise, obviously they'd be very different. But the other thing with Trump is, I don't think, a lot of conservatives, which the stacking community definitely leans conservative, right? But I think the thing is, with regard to Ukraine, if Trump was to end our involvement or lessen our involvement in Ukraine, again, I don't think the average conservative understands how that whole system works, how that whole situation works as far as the money that's being spent. It's not, we're not sending a wire transfer to Zelensky so that he can, butter up his cronies and, all the corruption or whatever, you want to believe. That money is being spent here on new equipment, meaning it's boosting the defense contractors here and a lot of jobs here domestically. And if that comes into question, that's a big uncertainty, and that's not good. Secondly, I actually heard something very interesting the other day. My buddy, he's a journeyman equipment operator. So he operates heavy equipment, construction sites, that kind of thing. Currently, I think he was working on solar fields here in California. But there's a few huge projects coming down the pike here in California, mainly high-speed rail, that kind of thing. There's one going to Vegas, and there's another one that's part of the one that goes to San Francisco. But those are huge projects for that type of work. But what he was telling me was that so we actually have friends that are in the slightly higher ups, not super high up, but slightly higher up in these companies, the construction companies. And what they were saying was that a lot of the work is kind of halted right now to see potentially which way the election goes. but not because of anything political, mainly because if they were progressing on those projects currently, if Trump gets elected because of what he said about tariffs, that will throw a huge wrench into everything, and it will completely change their logistical situation as far as what they need to buy. What they were explaining is that previously, when Trump was president, his tariffs on Chinese steel threw a huge wrench into construction, into production of different things, because obviously, those things rely on cheap steel, and the tariffs did not help that situation. It basically skyrocketed the costs. So that's kind of throwing everything into kind of a holding pattern right now until they see how the election unfolds. So that's interesting. And it's also interesting to me that people don't understand how a tariff works. That's like mind-boggling to me, that people are like, yeah, we should tariff everything. No, genius, that is the worst thing you could do. That's protectionism at its finest. But the problem with that is that we are a net importer, and so if you tariff everything, who pays the tariff? The people do. You pay the tariff. No company is paying the tariff for you. China's not paying the tariff. Mexico's not paying the tariff. Whatever company that's importing the stuff is paying the tariff, and guess what? They pass it on to you. That's the way business works. There's no freebies. If I have to pay an additional amount, I'm going to mark my stuff up so that you have to pay it. I'm not lowering my profit margin so that, I can give some money to tariffs. It's crazy. Like, that is the dumbest thing. And like when I hear like Trump say like, oh, the tariff's a beautiful word. Idiot. Like, what are you talking about? And I know Trump speaks from the hip. He doesn't, half the stuff he's talking about, he has no idea what he's talking about. And that's just the way he is. And people like that. Okay, great. But in this particular instance, tariffs are not a good thing. Particularly when you're talking about just liberally spreading them all over and just, cratering companies. That's not how things work. So there's that. But with regard to gold and silver, I mean, is one of them better than the other as far as, gold price and silver price, that kind of thing? I don't think it really matters. Mainly because I think the biggest dictator of what's going on, or what's been going on, is interest rates coming back down. That's a big factor. Now, I think initially, my take on it is initially that would actually push metals up, but over time, as they get lower, again, money, especially, how people talk about the central banks are buying gold, and initially, because of the rising interest rate environment, that made sense. In a falling interest rate environment, it doesn't make as much sense. And so I think over a period of time, you'll see a shift back out of gold and the price come back down. Now, I mean, it's risen substantially. So the question is, where does it go back down to? Does it go back to where it was before, or does it just find a new happy medium here in the center? I don't know. But it's something to consider, again, because most stackers don't sell anything. So we'll see. I mean, we're in the home stretch, 2 more weeks, and we're going to learn what the future looks like. Now, I think the big thing is with regard to the markets and different things, at the beginning of the year, a lot of people were scared, like, oh, it's going to be the same thing as had happened before. And no matter if Trump wins or loses, if he loses, for sure, he's going to cry wolf again. And, we're going to go through the same shenanigans. But I think the big thing is that at the end of the day, it's more of a known that will happen if Trump loses. He's going to pull the same shenanigans he did again. And they're going to try all the same, BS tactics. It is what it is. But at least it's kind of on the radar. Whereas last time, that was just completely out of left field. Like, that had never been seen before, that kind of stuff. So we'll see. This is part of being an American, right? Just get out there and vote. And it doesn't matter which team you pick. As long as you voice your opinion, that's all there is at the end of the day. But we're going to see how it affects gold, silver, the markets. And I'm here for it.